I'm a booktuber, and today I'll be answering the most searched questions about BookTube. Now, if you don't know what a booktuber is, it's basically just someone that creates content about books on YouTube, hence the word BookTube. Also, please don't take some of these searches too seriously. This video is just for fun. Alright, let's get into it. BookTubers. It's gonna take a while. Who is the hottest booktuber? Well, I'm not gonna say myself, and I'm happily married, so I do apologize, ladies. I'm not gonna mention any female creators here. I think surely it must be Jack Edwards. I mean, that guy, he looks like a model. But if you're into like someone that looks really wise and has lots of wisdom, I think Philip Chase, he nails that professor look. And also, if you're looking for like a Sigma, just like full-on male energy, I would also say Man Carrying Thing is definitely up there. Who is the most famous booktuber? Well, I do think it is Jack Edward. I might be incorrect here. There are some other obviously big booktubers that occasionally make book content, but Jack Edwards is on like 1.5 million subscribers and he is only a booktuber. So I might be mistaken here, but I do believe that he is the most famous one. Do booktubers ruin reading? Well, I think for the most part, booktubers actually encourage people to read more, but I do believe that some people will sometimes say that booktubers, we read an unhealthy amount of books, or we are normalizing that reading 100 books a year is normal and that might ruin people's expectations or experience when it comes to reading. And I do think that there is an argument to be had that some booktubers do portray like an unhealthy standard of what is normal when it comes to reading. But generally, I think booktubers are brilliant at helping people discover new books and help them to get more into reading. So I think for the most part, the answer is no. Why are booktubers so toxic? Well, have you ever been on YouTube? YouTube thrives on drama, but I genuinely think that BookTube is one of the, if not the nicest community on BookTube. I mean, readers, we're just cozy. We just love connecting with people that love reading. I mean, I think even some people would probably consider myself toxic because I've had some controversial takes in the past. But for the most part, I don't think BookTube is toxic. Are booktubers unbiased? Short answer, no. Who is unbiased in this world? I mean, we all have our biases and so on, but I think for the most part, booktubers try to at least convey that they're unbiased, or if they are biased, they will genuinely say that, well, I actually know this author, the booktuber. I mean, at least that's what I try to do. But I think a good practice on BookTube, and at least most booktubers do this, is that we are very strict on not accepting paid book reviews. Now, I don't mind promoting books and just stating like a book is going to come out in 2 months or whatever, but I would never, ever, ever accept money to read and review a book because that would certainly make me very, very biased. But yeah, I recently made a video called My YouTube Lost Money. Here's the truth about BookTube if you want to know more about this topic here. Can booktubers really read 100 books a year? I think that most people, when we hear about people that read 100 books a year, our initial thoughts is, I don't believe you. And really? Do you really read 100 books a year? But what I will say is that I do know some people that read 100 books a year, and I totally believe that they don't fake these numbers. I mean, if you do this full time, if you read books that are like 200-300 pages, and you are an avid reader, you can maybe read 100 pages a day. And if you read 100 pages a day, that can add up to 100 books a year easily. But just because some people read 100 books a year doesn't mean that that's a normal standard. Do booktubers ever run out of bookshelf space? No, we don't. As soon as you join this platform, you'll just automatically get free shelves and also free additional bedrooms. So yeah, if you need more shelf space, just join BookTube because yeah, we never run out of bookshelf space. Alright, is BookTube? Is it easy to start a BookTube channel? The answer is yes and no. I mean, starting a BookTube channel is very, very easy. You can literally start with just a phone, a cheap tripod, maybe invest in a cheap mic for like $20, and then you can start a BookTube channel. Now, it's a whole different question is it easy to be seen on BookTube and grow? I would say for the most part, very similar to all other niches, it's very, very competitive. But yeah, if you want to join this amazing community, what are you waiting for? I love running a BookTube channel, and I would love to see more people join this platform. Is BookTube a good way to make money? Oh no, man, it's definitely not a gold mine by any means. If you're just looking for money, I can assure you there are probably at least 1,000 other ways that are so much easier. That being said, there are some people in this niche that actually do earn quite a lot of money, but just think about it. Reading is niche, and then you have to choose a niche. So I've chosen primarily adult fantasy, which is even more niche, and then within that niche there's a lot of competition, and I've done this for 3 years and I have not become a millionaire by any means. So is BookTube a good way to start money? Definitely not. Is BookTube only for YA books? Well, no it isn't, but I think YA must definitely be the biggest niche on this platform. But yeah, I don't really read YA at all, and I've done okay-ish for myself, but as I said, BookTube is very niche, but you can definitely grow a community without reading YA, so don't worry about that. Is BookTube competitive? Yes, it is very competitive, and it's just becoming increasingly more competitive as more and more people join the platform. I do think competition is really great, because that just means that you viewers, you're gonna get better content. But not only do I think it's competitive, but I also think that the standard and the quality of videos has increased significantly since I joined this platform 3 years ago. But yeah, there's so many amazing creators on this platform, so if you enjoy reading, you really need to start watching more BookTube. There are so many amazing people here. Is BookTube still popular in 2024? Yes, it is still popular, but we do now have a thing called Book Talk, which has kinda taken over the book community in the past years, but there's still loads of creators really thriving on this platform. And if you're looking for something that is a bit longer than a TikTok, then yeah, BookTube is still the way to go. I think when it comes to this question is that BookTube has changed, but is still very much thriving. Is it necessary to show your face on BookTube? Well, I think most people, when they watch BookTube, they say, well, it's because I'm a reader. But I think most viewers are actually looking for a connection with a creator. So I don't think I've seen any big content creator in this niche that hasn't revealed their face. There might be some, so I might be wrong here. But in other niches on YouTube, there are creators that have built these huge communities without ever showing their face. So I do think it's probably possible to create a thriving BookTube channel without showing your face. But I do think it's going to be very hard. All right, let's get to the next one. How do booktubers make money? Well, as soon as you start a BookTube channel, a publishing house will contact you and will just start sending you money. I'm obviously joking here. Well, it's literally just the same as other content creators. Booktubers generally receive money from Patreon, sponsorships, ad revenue from YouTube, and then some booktubers will also sell products like merch. As I said several times here, BookTube is very niche, so if you're really passionate about a content creator, do consider supporting them on Patreon. It makes a huge difference. How many booktubers exist? Well, 6,196 last time I checked. There's no way that's a real search question. How do I interact with booktubers? Oh, I love this question. When I started my BookTube channel, one thing that blew my mind was how approachable other booktubers were. Like, my platform was still at less than 1,000 subscribers, and I contacted like some legends like Philip Chase at Mike's Book Review, and they were willing to interact with me. I mean, that genuinely just blew my mind. But what I've discovered is that since BookTube is so niche, most booktubers are very approachable. If you want to get in touch with me, just send me a message on Instagram or send me an email. I'll most definitely read it and most likely also respond to you. And also, if you have other booktubers that you love, send them a nice message. It literally makes our day. After this video, actually send a really nice message to loads of booktubers. I would love to see that. How do booktubers get free books? Very good question. Now, when I initially started my channel, I didn't get any free books really. But as soon as I passed around 5,000 subscribers, I started receiving so many requests from authors, firstly, that asked if they could send me a free copy of their book for me to review. And now I probably receive maybe one message a day if they can send me a book for me to review or promote or whatever. But generally, it's either self-published authors or publishing houses occasionally contact the content creator. But booktubers and other content creators can also reach out to authors or publishing houses and say, hey, I want to read this book, do you want to send me a copy? And often publishing houses and authors are very willing to do that. So it's definitely a mix, and there's a whole different conversation to be had here about actually it can be stressful to have too many books, because that just adds a lot of pressure that makes you feel that you have to read these books, which also can make reading feel like a chore. Oh, one more thing I wanted to add. A lot of smaller content creators on Instagram or TikTok or BookTube are able to get free books from publishing houses or authors. So don't think you have to reach like 50,000 subscribers to actually get free books. How do I film a BookTube video? I mean, this question is so wholesome. Well, the good thing is that there are many different ways, and as this community is evolving, there are so many different ways you can actually record a BookTube video, but most BookTube videos are just talking head videos like this. As I mentioned earlier, get a cheap tripod, use your phone and a cheap mic, and you're ready to go. And if you want to improve your editing, you can learn that along the way. All right, what is BookTube? What book genres get the most views on BookTube? Well, I'm within the adult fantasy niche, and that gains quite a lot of views. But at least my impression is that young adult literature, romance, and like literary work or classics is probably the biggest niches. Because when I think about the biggest content creators on this platform, they read a lot of YA, romance, literary fiction, and classics. But if you're like me and you love fantasy, you can definitely grow a platform here. What is the most overhyped book on BookTube? Well, it depends on which content creator you ask, but if you're gonna ask my opinion, in recent times, I do think Fourth Wing. It's not a badly written book, but considering that book has sold tens of millions of copies, I do think it's overhyped. What does TBR mean on BookTube? It means to be read. And also another question you might be wondering, what does DNF mean? Just means did not finish. What makes a book popular on BookTube? Man, that question is almost impossible to answer. But what I will say is that very often if a big creator reads a book, then that will usually lead to maybe 10 other booktubers reading that book. Then that leads to 100 other creators reading a book. And then you just go into the spiral where you just see the book again and again and again on the platform. But what exactly makes a book go viral on BookTube is a question publishing houses are willing to pay millions to get the answer to. So if you have the answer, contact a publishing house and you'll become a millionaire. What do booktubers do with books they don't like? Well, I can't answer for everyone, but generally, I live really close to loads of charity shops, so I'll often just bring, like every 3 months, a big bag of books I don't want to read anymore to the charity shop, or donate it to some friends. I have some friends that love fantasy. If I purchase the book myself, and I do think the book has some monetary value, I might add it to eBay and try to sell it. But what usually ends up happening is that I just keep the books, and then I run out of bookshelf space, and I just struggle with like finding book space. It is a real problem finding bookshelf space. But I'm not gonna complain. I've been very fortunate to be in this position. And last one, and I had to indulge myself, Libraryofaviking. Yes, I totally made these up. I don't care. If you want to learn more about me, this section is for you. Where is Libraryofaviking from? Well, I'm actually from a tiny country called the Faroe Islands. It's between Iceland and Scotland, and around 50,000 people live there. And my first language is Faroese, hence why I have an accent. What's the story behind the name Libraryofaviking? Well, I'm from a Scandinavian country which used to have Vikings back in the day. So when I set up my channel name, I actually got inspired by Library of Alexandria, a great booktuber on this platform. And I was just thinking, Library of something Scandinavic or Nordic, and the name Libraryofaviking was created. Is Libraryofaviking married? Yes, I've been married now for 5.5 years, and I love being married. I don't understand people that complain about marriage, and I don't have time to go into the story here, but my wife is actually one of the primary reasons why I got back into reading, which led me to create this channel. So if you enjoy my content, you should really thank my beautiful wife. What is Libraryofaviking's favorite book? I actually haven't thought about this one. Now, this question is impossible to answer, but one of the best books I read in recent times was Hyperion by Dan Simmons. And obviously as a Christian, I'll also say the Bible, which is a book I read every single day. Does Libraryofaviking have a Patreon? Well, I'm glad you asked. You wouldn't be watching this video if it wasn't for my patrons, because basically for more than a year I spent all my Patreon income on video editing, and my patrons are paying for this video right now. So if you want to support the channel, help me post more consistently, and also join a very exclusive Viking Book Club where we once a month meet on Zoom to discuss a book we read together, then I'll leave a link in the description down below. Where does Libraryofaviking live? Well, I now live in England. I've lived here for 5 years, and I live in a city called Southampton. Which Libraryofaviking video should I watch next? Well, you should definitely watch this one. Oh, you're still here and you want more? Well, the good news is that I have a Viking Book Club on my Patreon. If you join my Patreon, then you get access to an exclusive book club where every single month we read one book together, and the book can be put forward by you. If you join tier 3 or 4, then you can put a book forward, and then I randomly choose a book from the pot that we end up reading together, and throughout the month, we discuss the book on the Patreon chats. And then we also have Zoom hangouts, which honestly are some of my favorite times of the month. This month we're reading this book, and next month we're gonna be reading this book. Also, since I launched my Patreon, I basically spent my money back into the channel on video editing. I've had more than 40 videos professionally edited, so if you want to support what I do here and also help me upload more consistently, then I'll leave a link in the description down below.